Hi, in this video for Leave the Light On, I'm going to show you how to finish the trim on your windows. Now if you look at these two, you'll notice that there is a trim on the outside of the window. I'm also going to show you how to add the panes if you choose to do that. You don't have to. To start, now you've already sewn all of your clapboards to the side of the house. And then you're going to take your 5-inch squares, window squares, and you're going to place them on the fabric side of your ends or your front or back, right sides together. And you're going to estimate centering them on the window opening. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to sew all the way around with a scant, very scant 1/4 inch seam. And you're sewing right through the interfacing and the 5-inch square. The next thing that you're going to do, before we go there, the next thing I want to tell you about is on the front or back, your 5-inch squares are going to be large enough so that if you don't fold over your fabric, you could end up sewing the other 5-inch square to your window, and you don't want to do that. So when you're sewing your 5-inch square to this window, fold this fabric back, easy to sew all the way around, and when you're doing this window, fold this fabric back and stitch all the way around. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to cut your fabric out. Now I go ahead, and again, you want to fold your fabric back if you're working with the front or the back. I go ahead and just rotary cut, not all the way to the corner, but just a little bit, just to get that cutting started. And I'll just go along the edge of the interfacing to do that. Then I flip it to the back, and I'll finish cutting the window out with a pair of scissors. And I can feel it as I'm cutting with the scissors. I can feel when I hit the interfacing. So I want to stop right when I hit the interfacing. This may not be perfect, but we're just going to trim that right out. Get rid of all your clapboards and throw them out so that you have a window opening like that. The next thing that you're going to do is we are going to turn this to the back side. But before we do that, we need to do some trimming around the corners. So first we're going to take a ruler and we're going to draw in chalk or whatever. And again, this is a Choco liner, a Clover Choco liner. And I talk about that a little bit in the pattern when you're doing the ornament. So this is what I'm referring to when I refer to a Clover Choco liner. It has a little wheel at the end. So I'm going to draw a line 1/2 inch out from this edge, the edge that I just cut, all the way around. Now I'm going to take my 5-inch square, and I want to lift it so that I don't cut any of my clapboards. And I'm going to cut from the corner of the 5-inch square to the corner of that chalk mark. And I'm going to do that on all 4 corners. And I'm also going to clip the corners, and I clip just the fabric, just into the corner. It will just help us turn. Okay, in the next step, what we're going to do is we're going to fold this to the inside. Now this is not going to be very pretty, but we're going to fold it to the inside because it's going to be gathered at the corners. Fold it to the inside and pull it firmly, and then you want to use your craft iron, your little mini craft iron, to fuse it down. Do one top or bottom, and then do the other top or bottom. Pull it tightly. And then you're going to do the sides. And you're just pulling it over tightly. Now it will gather, it will gather at the corners a little bit. And I'll show you once we turn it over. So it's fused down nice and flat all the way out. So when I flip it over, you can see the trim around the window. The next step is we are going to put some either semi-transparent paper or template plastic in the windows, so you don't actually look inside the house when the lights are on. They just glow through the windows. So you can either use paper, which if you can get close enough, can you see the little pattern in the paper? This is just scrapbooking paper. Or you can use template plastic. You can't really see clearly through them. They're a little frosty. To do that, what you're going to do is you're going to cut your template plastic or your paper according to the pattern directions. And then you're going to pin them to the inside. So that's the side that you fused your trim to. You're going to pin them so that the pin is nice and flat. Then I'm going to go to the machine and I'm going to stitch in the ditch all the way around this trim edge. So you want to sew slowly, and you want to be able to see where the pins are so that you can remove them as you go. So you're going to just stitch very slowly and needle down to turn. Now I'm going to take my pin out before I get there so that I don't break my needle. Stitch to that corner very slowly. Turn. Following the ditch. Turn. Now I can get to my other pin from here. Take that out. Now in this one I am using the paper, so be very, very careful because it is paper and you don't want to rip it. Okay, so I'll trim my threads and I'm going to move back to the table. And the last step is optional. You can do this or you don't have to. In order to put the panes in the windows, I'm just using thread. So I'm using several layers of a 12 weight thread. And Aurifil and Sulky make a 12 weight thread in many colors. So I'm using 4 strands of 12 weight thread, and I've tied a knot in the end. I'm going to start, and I'm using a milliner's needle, size 1. You can use a crewel needle, anything that has a large eye so you can get multiple strands through the needle head, or through the eye rather. Now I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm going to estimate where I think the center of the window is. So I'm just going to push my needle through the stitches there. And what I want to do is I want my needle to be underneath the paper or the template plastic, so it's on the outside. Now I'm going to eyeball this. I think it needs to be over 1, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to put it through the stitch that's next to it. So I think that's more centered. So I'm just going to pull it through. Now the knot will be caught between the stitches that you just did, so it's going to be, the knot's going to be sitting right underneath here. Then you'll want to just lay it down, make sure that it's fairly straight, and slide your needle up to the top. Oops. Don't wrap it around your house like I just did, like that. And then you're going to take, from the back, you're going to take that thread and you're just going to wrap it underneath the paper. On the side, you'll do the same thing. You're going to slide your needle underneath. If it catches some of the fabric, that's fine. So I'm going to look and I'm going to say, gee, that's just about right in the center of the window. And I'm going to push it through, pull it, sort of eyeball it to go straight across. Now on this, the front and back, there are 2 windows on the front and 2 windows on the back. So what you can do is just keep right on going to the next one. And I'm just going to make sure I'm fairly level with that one. I'm going to go up 1 stitch, pull it through, stitch it into the other edge, like that. Wrap it up and around, and then go down through the center. That's a little bit to one side, so I'm going to move it back a stitch. That one looks a little bit more centered. So I'm going to pull it through and then put it straight across like that, so I know where I'm going to put my needle in. Put my needle in. And then in the back, I'm just going to tie a double knot. And you have finished your windows. So you're all done.